Hello, everybody, and welcome to our very, very, very first podcast episode of our First Call Ready podcast. Super exciting. It's been a long road if you have been following us up into this point since January. We've been promoting this podcast, so I'm super excited for it to be finally out here in the world.
Here we are 6 months later. Thanks for staying tuned and following and joining us. So this will be exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to do a little intro here just in case you're new to this podcast, to this platform, so you can get to know who the heck is yapping in your ear or who the heck you're staring at if you're watching us on a video podcast. My name is Ashley.
My name is Megan.
And we are the host of First Call Ready. Megan, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Sure. I am super lucky that Ashley over here invited me on this wild journey. So I'm happy to be with everyone. What really sold me on this was First Call Ready is for you, the dispatch community. I think from my perspective, I've been in the business for 26 years and have graciously been awarded some leadership roles through that. And now I'm on our executive leadership team for a department that I work at. And I hope to bring that perspective from the line level progression, supervision, management. So I'm hoping I can open some eyes and point out some other things behind, but I also am not lost upon me with those line level dispatchers and all the hard work that everyone does. So thank you for that.
Heck yeah. Well, Megan, thank you for accepting this invitation. I met Megan through all my work with the Raspy Dispatcher. And if you are familiar, or maybe you're not familiar with me, I am currently still a dispatch. I'm a dispatch supervisor. I've been doing this since 2018. And very shortly into my career, I created a YouTube channel called the Raspy Dispatcher, really geared towards, educating folks and helping them through that application process because, as we know, the world needs more dispatchers. So I've kind of been doing this social media YouTube outreach for the last probably 5 years at this point. Been doing this 7 years, but really in it pushing promoting for the last 5 years or so, but still full-time dispatch. I feel like a lot of people are still are you still do this full-time? Yes, we both are still in the dispatch center
working 60 hours a week.
full-time dispatcher still. This is our part-time gig. And really excited to venture into this with you. So thank you so much for that.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And just a little bit more about First Call Ready. It's not just a podcast, which I think is a very, very important thing to know as you get to know us and get to know our resources and the business side of our organization. We are also a full-fledged business now under First Call Ready. We have another couple of teammates, Kayla Bacon and Dominique Mathis, who support us in creating all of our resources, our mentorship program, our training courses, and all of the other fun resources we're coming up with. But it is really, really a organization that we're creating that is geared towards promoting this job as a career, not just a job, really adding that professional development aspect to dispatch that we don't always get. And we'll talk about that a little bit in today's episode. But if you have not dived into First Call Ready, our podcast, and our organization, you can find all that information at firstcallready.com.
And that's for everybody, whether you're aspiring to be a dispatcher, are currently a dispatcher, maybe in your first year or so, maybe you have 5 years under your belt. Or, as Ashley said, professional development. You're looking to become a CTO, you're looking to become a tactical dispatcher, the promotions down the line. We're trying to build out something that there's a little bit of something for everybody here.
1000%. Well, that brings us to our topic today. We're going to be talking about the staffing shortage, the reason we exist, the reason the Raspy Dispatcher started, which is the fact that the world needs more dispatchers. And one of the interesting articles that I've come across recently, say in the last couple of years, I'm not sure what the year this article came out. I want to say it was last year, if my memory serves me from researching this episode, but a local agency out here, Berkeley Police Department, had an article, and the title of it, and we'll include all of that in the show notes too, so you can read it on your own if you're interested. The title was Berkeley's 911 call center struggles to have enough dispatchers. And this is no new secret.
It's not just Berkeley.
This is not a Berkeley issue. This is a ongoing conversation, ongoing question in all of our centers about staffing struggles, about that concern. And one of the big numbers that stood out to me in this article is that because of their long running staffing shortages, their overtime, $1 million.
A year?
A year.
Oh,
$1 million every year since well before COVID. So COVID didn't help, but it wasn't because of COVID. So that's costing the city $1 million a year in overtime just because they're unable to staff their center.
That gave me budget angst when I have my management hat on right now. Such budget angst. But also then I'm like, oh my gosh, $1 million in overtime. Can you imagine how many hours those dispatchers are working?
Yeah.
And shout out to you, Berkeley. I mean, like, let's first recognize, like, you're fighting the good fight right now. That is insane. Gosh, I think that brings us to, like, what everyone always asks, like, why don't we have enough dispatchers? What is, I mean, this is probably a much longer than an hour topic, so I hope you guys are all locked in for this.
We'll be here for 6 hours. The first episode is a 6-hour episode.
With that said, I would say, Ashley, kick us off with what you think, like, what's our retention issue, or maybe what's our recruiting issue? I mean, that's kind of two different topics, but what do you think is really driving the shortage?
Well, I think if we start with recruiting, I think as a industry, first responder roles historically have been a very sought after profession, right? I think 10, 15, 20 years ago, you'd have 1, 2 openings. You'd have hundreds of applicants, hundreds of qualified applicants who are really, really trying to get those 1 or 2 spots. And it was a really sought after profession.
And very competitive market.
And a very competitive market. But in the last 10, 15 years, that's shifted to be we have all of these openings. And this isn't just in dispatch. The law enforcement is filling it. I imagine fire is filling it. That we have multiple openings. I'm bad at math, so let's say 10 spots. We still have those 100 applicants, but the quality of those applicants have decreased, and the willingness to do this job is not so much there. But also, and maybe the most important part is, the mindset of our departments has not shifted from understanding that reality. Departments used to be the prize. If you're a Grey's Anatomy's fan, pick me, choose me, love me. Shout out Meredith. Okay, departments think they're Derek, but the reality is they are not Derek anymore. The reality is the applicant is Derek, and the departments are the pick me girls. The departments, but we haven't shifted that mindset when it comes to our recruiting. So in our recruiting process, they need to be happy we're even interviewing them. They need to be just happy that we're giving them this opportunity. But we really need to shift that mindset to that, I've said it before, that D1
the D1 athlete recruiting.
I want you to come play for me, and this is why you should choose me. But we have a hard time making that shift in this industry.
Well, and what do we always say? They don't like change, but we don't like things to stay the same way. I would also add to that too, we often get why are we lowering our standards? Why are we, and I think it's really important to know, people to know that the quality of our applicants is different. And that's not to discourage any of you that are looking to apply for dispatching. What it simply means is the lack of education out there for you knowing what you're signing up for. And people see the paycheck and they're like, yeah, that's decent money. But if we're not, we got to keep it real. Yours is a 24/7 call center. You're dispatching, call taking, multitasking, birthdays, weekends, kids' games, all of those things. And if people don't know they're making that sacrifice on the front, or even if they're told, sometimes you get in the seat and it just feels a little different, then it's a large investment to get somebody into our center. And then if they are not totally aware of that, this is what they're signing up for, or the impact it will have. Like we all know, many of Christmases, my family, we don't celebrate on the 25th. We celebrate on when Megan's off. Having other family members in law enforcement, we kind of just have to coordinate. It may be the 22nd, it may be the 28th. We don't know, but it's not everybody's willing to, like that's just not a sacrifice they're willing to make. So not to discourage anybody, but just really look into what you're signing up for.
But here's the thing. I think the biggest thing is with the Raspy Dispatcher stuff, right? We put a lot of information out there for applicants.
Absolutely.
But they shouldn't be getting the information from Ashley. They should be
Agreed.
getting it from the department, the centers. If you are not having active, productive conversations about what it's like to work in this job, what it's like to work at your center, you're doing a disservice to everyone. Because this is a first responder role. You are going to make sacrifices doing this job. And not that there can't be a work-life balance, because I think we get caught up in that a little bit too. And I think this adds to our turnover rate, is that, well, you signed up for this. Like you knew that you were going to be mandated $1 million worth of overtime, right? Like,
Right.
No, I didn't sign up for that, actually.
That wasn't in the salary that you posted.
Right? So there's got to be, you got to meet people in the middle, which is what can we do to create that work-life balance and create a little bit of normalcy in this job that just is not normal. I think one of the biggest things that I've seen happen at an agency is that it's something so simple, I think, but it just ups wellness and retention by, I would say, 50%. And that's me basing that on no numbers other than just my observation. Having your shift flip-flop weekends off. So you work 4 months weekends and then you flip. You stay your same schedule, but then the other side of the week now works weekends, and the other half works weekdays. So half that shift cycle, however you break it up, 4 months, 6 months, whatever that looks like, a year. Some people sign up for a year, but half the year I can go to my kid's game on Saturdays. Half the year
You're not locking into no
right?
weekends.
Like they're not locked into no weekends, which happens often when we talk about seniority. And the reality is, again, the new structure, new game. If I can leave, I know how to do this job. It's going to be a pain in the ass to learn it to do it somewhere else. But you piss me off enough, I can go do this job somewhere else.
There's nothing more marketable than a lateral dispatcher, right? Like, we'll take them. They
100%.
already know what they're signing up for. So if you can offer something like that and that's drawing them in,
But if I can go, let me change the schedule so the bottom half of my seniority pool has some time with their family, like, do it. Such an easy way to increase that retention.
That, and also like engage your team, the ones that are showing up and working. You'd be surprised how many great ideas a team may have and maybe there might be a unique team out there that goes, no, we don't like that because of ABC 1, 2, 3. That's great too. But they would say, but this would really work. Like the start time, can we shift to 6 a.m. instead of 7 a.m. because then we're not stuck in traffic and we can get home earlier. Like there's so many little tweaks, but I think we get stuck in, that's the way we've always done it. And and it's always worked. So we don't really look for other
Now,
things.
Megan, you're talking crazy now. You're telling me from a management lens that you talk to your team.
Well, I don't talk to them every day. It depends on the day of the week, but I definitely am trying to engage them.
You telling me they was text you at 6 a.m. today.
They let me know they're okay, But I do say is open, the open door policy we talk about a lot is the big thing is I'm open. It's your schedule. You tell me what you want. So if somebody creates anything, sometimes some people want the 312s. And that works because they're like, I want to drive in less days, please. I mean, no one's living in the Bay Area anymore. And if you are, bless you. It's because you're making $1 million in overtime. You can afford that house. So, but, so we have a lot of people that are driving pretty far. There's not people living in the city they work in as much anymore, depending where you live, right? And then, so, I mean, some people like the 12s. Some people like the 10s. If you like a 5'8", you definitely got to hit us up and leave us some comments because I got some questions for you.
Yeah, no, I
haven't found that.
I can never do it. I cannot go back to that lifestyle.
No.
I can't do it. Even 410s is rough, especially on day shift. I can't.
can't
I'm a 312s gal. I'm a 312s gal.
See, and everybody, but that's the thing is, like we always tell, like that's the big thing is let the team come up with it. Maybe people get some smart people. It's dispatching is not easy. Smart people working in there, they might have some really great ideas. So tap your teammates and be like, hey guys, do we got a better idea if we're not liking what's working, or a more unique way to spread out overtime? That's the other thing too. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be overtime. Maybe there's a unique way to spread that out, so it's not as painful.
Don't just keep giving it to the person at the bottom of the list. Those things add up. $1 million in overtime, cool, but what comes with $1 million of overtime? Burnout.
Your team is
burnt out. There's no way. I mean, they're burnt out with a Louis bag, but they're burnt out. You know what I mean?
But you can't go out with your Louis bag if you're working all that overtime.
Your Louis bag only goes to the center, which is crazy.
Yeah. What are you going to take? I mean, gosh, I hope you can make it from the parking lot into the building and you're in a safe city. But yeah, like I think that's one other thing to kind of go back. You kind of had me thinking when you're talking about like Raspi's really put out a lot of information and, I don't know, point out if there is other people putting a lot out there, but I have seen trending, which I think is helpful, is a lot of agencies are doing these virtual, sometimes in person, but COVID screwed up everything. So a lot of virtual orientations. So kind of like getting to know, introducing it, which I think is a good sign on that agency for showing an investment of taking the time to do that for their applicants. Hopefully they're doing it right. I'm not here to say what right is, but giving them like the honest truth. You still got to get in the center to kind of experience it, right? But like also, are we following up with applicants and getting them like a sit along? Because where I'm going with this is I think people should like get to know the culture of the center and kind of see what's the interaction is, because we are all some people choose to be wireless, or you're old school leashed, as I like to call it. And
umbilical cord.
Yes, you are on a leash, or you have an umbilical cord for your whole 12 hours. And you're in a room, and it's different, right? Yeah. It's different from the officer that has can get out of their car, or isn't in, unless they're training, or a double unit, isn't in a car with somebody their whole 12-hour shift. So I think that's important, because you kind of got to experience what's going on in the center.
Yeah. One of the ways I describe our application process, we are the worst people to date. Like, if we're talking about applicant department, that being a dating relationship, right? We'll swipe right on you all day long. Then you send us a direct message and we leave that thing all read for weeks, months, years. We are the worst daters as a department, right? So we got to get better at that.
It goes back to that D1 athlete thing. It's like we're recruiting, right? And we want to say that's such a huge part of our industry is the recruitment. What can we offer? What can we do? We can offer a call back to start with, you know what I mean? Hey, and I know HR, sorry if you're out there in HR, but you do gatekeep some stuff. Let's just be honest. You have some blocks there, but when we get those applicants and we get those things, do you know how far a phone call or an email, but I'm kind of let's get out of our comfort zone, guys. Let's actually pick up the phone once in a while, and just say got your application, we're reviewing it. That's just one, hey, that agency went above and beyond. Now, if you're getting hundreds of applications, that's another story. But, but the little things that we can do where we make them feel I really want to, I want to go there. And all this takes time. We're not saying it's easy. We're not. If it's easy, we wouldn't be having this crisis.
Yeah. But one of the biggest things I hear, one of the biggest questions are, I applied in January. It is now June.
I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything. Or I've talked to my backgrounder. That was 3 months ago. Am I a criminal? I don't like,
Yeah.
constantly, right? And I mean, I can't tell you what's going on in your process, Ashley Stranger on the internet. I don't know. But I know this is a common theme. And this is something we can do better at with the things we can't control. HR can't control.
Right.
Our backgrounders, we have a lot of, I called them campus partners earlier. We have a lot of third party resources, tools, vendors that we have to put into our process that we can't control their timeline. And again, everyone's short staff. Everyone's putting everyone through backgrounds. There's also background for PD, like officers. So there's a lot of things we can't control. But if you know you have 10 people in backgrounds, you can touch base with those 10 people while we're waiting,
schedule
email,
a quick touch point once a month,
something.
Hey, we haven't got it back yet. Just want to let you know how's everything's going. Because I will say we do have some control with those third party people is if I find out that you're in background somewhere else and we're in a race, I'm putting pressure on that person. Like, hey, this person goes to the front of the line. This is like where you need, because especially if they're looking to be a good candidate, because again, a D1 athlete, we're going to use that all day because people are drawn to teamwork in our industry, and that's just the background we come from. But I would say that is not a you have a little control when it comes down to that,
And more importantly, you should be in backgrounds from multiple agencies, applicant, because the reality is, not all centers are built the same. You need to figure out what's the best one for you and what speaks to your heart. If you want to promote, small center's probably not going to be the best look for you. Not a lot of movement there. Maybe you want to be involved in tactical dispatch, all these ancillary duties. Maybe a larger center has that for you. So you should be, because I've gotten that question before.
That makes sense.
Does it look like, will it put them off if I'm in multiple backgrounds?
No, I would say in the old days, maybe.
Maybe, but forget them. I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to be for the next 15 years, hopefully.
If this is what you want, do not put all your eggs in one basket, because you could waste, to your point earlier, January to June till you hear something, to hear someone else got it, or even that's just June till you hear and get an interview, and then you got to go through. We know like unless you got Speedy Gonzalez working on your background, that's a 3 to 4 month thing in and of itself. When you get to that level,
as a lateral, it was 3 to 4 months. I mean, and
those usually are quicker. So I would just say that, don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you really know you want to get into this, I think that's, you're setting yourself back, right? That's 1 year. It could take you a year to get hired, and that's 1 year less in the field. And then you got an 12 to 18 month training process ahead of you, at least an 18-month probation. So don't delay. If it's what you want, I agree with you. I think you got to put your resumes, your applications out as many, places. Now I would say when it gets excessive is, when your background comes back and you're like, oh, you've applied at 62 places. That might be a little obsessive.
Be intentional. But don't put your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. Kind of going back to the sit-along thing. And even if it's not a sit-along, we all know you're working a job trying to get into. But this kind of going to the people that are already in the center, we always talk about, hey, recruiting, do more, what are you... I would put this part on the dispatchers in the center. What are you doing to help keep the employees? If you are having partners that are lateraling elsewhere or getting out of dispatch altogether, now there is always those variable reasons, maybe like family or,
tough call.
That kind of thing. But if people are leaving your center or you're having trouble, they're coming in training and not staying, whether that means they stay in lateral or they're just in training and they're like, deuces, I'm out. I don't like this. Yeah. I would ask, what are we doing as an industry, self-reflecting on that? What are you doing? Why is this happening? And everyone says, work-life balance, and which is very much important.
These kids can't do this work anymore. They want too much wellness, and no.
Yes. And I would say, what are we doing to help them succeed rather than letting them walk out the door. And maybe you aren't letting them walk out the door, but I feel all too often we hear stories or people reach out and they were like, I just left and like the agency didn't do much to retain them. And, of course, again, we're always going to point out there may be those times where that it wasn't worth retaining, or there might have been another deeper issue.
You're not going to make everybody happy,
No.
and that's not what we're speaking to. I think we're more speaking to the reality of there are toxic cultures in our centers. And one of the things that I hear often, I mean, when I was doing Let's Talk Dispatch, one of my first episodes, I had a 3-week dispatcher who wanted to come on and talk about their shitty experience in a center. She only lasted 3 weeks, and she was like, this isn't for me. And it wasn't because of the job, it was because of the environment. And the reality is, we don't sugarcoat it. One of the things that exists in this industry, a reason why you should be doing your research, doing your sit-alongs, going and checking out these departments is toxic cultures in our centers exist. There's a lot of work needs to be done. We just looked at a TikTok today where we said that we don't talk about this enough, that it's not the calls that kill dispatchers. Sometimes it's the room. It's the room we're working in.
I used to always say at one point is my best call of the day is the easiest because it should be when I'm calling another agency or department for help, like whether I'm transferring a medical call because I'm not, we don't dispatch medical, or I'm gonna call a neighboring agency for some help on something like that. That should be the like, hey Ashley, it's Megan, and it should be like, hey Megan, how's it going? Like that should be the one call I don't have to worry about. But often we find, whether it's burnout or just the mindset that people have gotten into, is it's like, what do you want? You know what I mean?
Everyone who transfers to a certain agency enough knows, oh, Megan's working today.
Yes, 100%.
Insert whatever name that is at that dispatcher at that other agency that you've got to know over that phone line because of their tone for all these years. Like, so-and-so's working today.
We're all going through the same thing and taking the same calls. So that should be the one call. That's where I start with, is that should be your best call of the day. And when you receive it, you should be that person to that person. Like if Ashley's calling me today, just, to ask for, I don't know, some previous on an address or something. Yeah. And, that should be like, yeah, let me look that up for you. How's it going for you today? Like that should be the easiest, and it's almost like, 8 out of 10 times it's our most curt call of the day. And it's like, hold on, this is the one you can actually be like, hey, how was your weekend?
I was like, hold on, you can't say that on this recorded line. You wildin'. Let's go pull this.
Oh, shake it up. That's all I say. I just think that is like a little thing where like when I hang up that phone, I'll be like, dang, Ashley over at that agency is super cool, dude. She just asked me how my weekend was. Like, like that can be like your highlight of the day. And it's like, we can control that.
One of the things we talk about all the time at First Call Ready is that our profession deserves better. Better training, better support, better tools, better leadership.
That is exactly why we're excited to partner with This Gen 911. They're helping emergency communication centers hire better, train faster, and support their people.
Through realistic call simulations, immediate coaching, and tools designed for everyone, from trainees to supervisors and directors, they're helping build stronger teams behind the headset.
Because when dispatchers have the opportunity to practice, learn, make mistakes, and grow in a safe environment, they show up more confident when the real call comes in.
They're investing in the future of emergency communications and helping create the kind of profession we all want to be a part of.
Now let's get back to the show.
But also, we're taking the heavy calls all day long, and then, as we all know, every dispatcher is at the core, myself included, we are super sarcastic. And a good point that we were talking about earlier today was like, sometimes like the sarcasm can be overkill, which kills the mood in the room, right? Where people are kind of like, if I'm always getting a snarky, sarcastic remark, I don't really want to contribute in that conversation anymore. So I think it's like kind of self-reflection and like, what, how can we do a little bit better? And also I think we're just like pessimists by nature. And here's a story for you. Like I remember working with a team, and it was just myself included, but I was learning, it was getting heavy for me because my partners were always being really pessimistic and conspiracy theorists, and I was totally involved. I'm not an innocent party in this. But then I started to realize, well, wait, I want to change, but they don't want to change. So I switched shifts. I didn't necessarily go about it in the right way because they were kind of mad, like, you're just ditching us. But, we're young, we learn. But you got to learn how to control that, right? Like, like how...
You got to know the room.
Yes.
You got to know the room. You got to find balance. You got... Because at the end of the day, these are the homies, but these are also my coworkers. This is also a professional development. This is also a professional department. We have to have that balance. You have to have that balance of knowing the room.
I completely agree. And I mean, maybe you're going to be the odd person out at the time, but... spark the positivity maybe instead. Like if you feel it's that day for everyone, and be like, all right, what music are we listening to? What's going to be our hype song today, guys? I don't know. Come up with something that you can redirect on. I often talk about a Purple Elephant story that to help with that, we had someone that was just going through it, like outside of work, and was kind of coming into the center, and the conversation was had like, hey, kind of bringing down the room, and it's a tough conversation to have, but you got to have it. And it was definitely impactful. And they're like, well, when I'm being like that, can you just let me know? And it's called the Purple Elephant story because I don't know how we came up with this, but our code word was Purple Elephant. And if you said Purple Elephant, then that person in the room just knew like, ooh, I'm being that way. It turned into a whole movement at one point. We had a little Purple Elephant, and if someone was like being that way, we'd put it on their desk when they went to the bathroom. So when they come back, they would be like, ooh, I need to, I don't know, get creative, find something.
I think that speaks to a lot of times, and this kind of, this again would be a long episode, 6 hours, remember, lock in. A lot of times in a toxic center, in my experience, we expect someone from the top to come in and fix it.
Great point.
I have told you that this is an issue. Why haven't you come and fixed my problem for me? But the reality is that our centers are made up by our line level dispatchers. They're made up by their teammates. You have the biggest impact on changing the culture, at least on your shift, that you have to spend 12 hours, unless you're working that weird 5/8, dealing with. So how can you make it better? And again, you're not going to make everyone happy. No. Not everyone's going to...
Get that out of your head, and don't ever say that in an interview when you want to promote. I want to make everybody happy. That's the worst.
It's just not going to happen. But we need to take a little accountability for how we enter a room and the effect we have on it. Because we have an effect on the room every time we enter it. I think we all have experience working with a dispatcher. We're like, shit, so-and-so's working today. And they come in the room and the air gets sucked out of it. And
100%.
Like, we was just chilling, and now it's like weird in here, and no one wants to talk, and we're not, like, everyone's had that experience. Everyone knows that dispatcher.
I've had the experience where I've been that dispatcher. I think we all have been that dispatcher at some point. If you've done any amount of time in the center, you've been that person, intentionally or not. But I always say, and say it with me, people, peer pressure is the best pressure. Don't wait for it to come from the top.
That's not what DARE told me. The DARE program told me peer pressure is bad.
That's why DARE isn't around anymore. No, I'm just kidding.
Liars.
No, but I in this situation, really is your peers have the we don't want to disappoint our partners. And you expect it from management. It's easy to be like, oh, they're ragging on me again for this, or, and it just doesn't, I mean, they should be getting involved in, at some point, but peer pressure is the best pressure, and you're giving them a chance to fix it before you have to elevate it. And that's where I think the toxicity and giving each other grace is like, maybe Ashley doesn't know she's in that funk, and
like,
if I don't tell her, let
Yeah.
me give her a chance to fix it. I think that's what we miss is because then I let her funk become my funk because I'm mad that she's in a funk and nobody's addressing. And now
we just all funky.
Yeah, exactly. Super funky and not in the good way. So I think that's something too, is that we should really be courageous enough to have those conversations. That's the most courageous conversation that you could have, and the most bang for your buck. Really just, if we let the toxicity, like ruminate and just stay in the room, like we're not helping each other, because management comes and goes right out the room. So what do you want them to do? Well, you got to look at long-term fixes.
Yeah.
And I think like helping each other out, because again, I go back to, they're in a funk because either something's going, what they always say, like, you never know what people are going through. You know what I mean? Give everyone kindness and grace from the beginning. You never know what they're going through. They may have just took a call that didn't seem like much to you, but that's like triggering something deep down in them.
We are all humans who bring our own trauma into the centers. Every 911 call you've taken, you've probably sat in the room with another dispatcher who's experienced that in their personal life, who's had a parent that's been a DV victim, who, gosh, I was in a training one time, it was a post-training, and we did like a little activity where you like write something no one would know or whatever, and it's anonymous, and someone wrote, like, I watched my mom's boyfriend murder my mom. You know, like, we all are humans doing this human job. And, you know, we can get dark humor when we're, like, taking calls and stuff like that. But we all bring our own junk into the center. And we got to recognize that completely.
That's the partnership of dispatch that we don't talk about, is we're all trauma bonded. And, you know, we don't want to admit it. But, I mean, that's 100%, or maybe some do admit it freely, but you know, it takes a certain type, and dispatching is not. I remember when I threw the dispatch academy, and again, this was years ago, but I'm pretty confident the stats the same or in the same ballpark. So I'm going to throw it out. I don't have hard facts on this. I remember in my dispatch training, they said like 2% of the entire U.S. population has the innate ability to be a dispatcher, like that, the characteristics to be successful as a dispatcher. So keeping that in mind, if we have someone that has potential and seems to be showing promise in our center, how do we retain them? We beg them to stay, you know, because that, I mean, I do think everyone's not built for it. It's not just the dealing with the culture of the center, but the certain, you know, it's just, you know, being able, multitasking is not something we can teach guys. Like, that's not, you know, we can show them how it's done and what they have to multitask in, but you can either do that or you can't.
But one of the things that's true too, or one of the things that we really need to talk about or focus on is that training experience, is that training reality, is that this is one of those jobs that you don't know if you can do it till you get in there and do it, right?
Very true. And
so how do we set our trainees up for success? Because we like to eat and nibble on our young, man. That's a common thread that we hear often too. And being in my new role, I'm having conversations more about how do you get people through training? Like, at what point do we go, this isn't working? Like, what is the identifiers that this is working, or how do we train better? And you're not going to come to this podcast and get clear-cut answers to any topic that we talk about. We don't have all the answers, but we are hoping that these conversations spark something for you, for your center, that you can implement, that you can take back when we go into like our live streams and our community engagement stuff, that something sparks there that you can bring back to your center. Because maybe you take from this orientation. We don't do an orientation. Let's work that into our, you know, something. And we're not going to solve the staffing crisis in this 6-hour episode. We're only going to hopefully
plant some seeds,
Yeah.
You know what's not working. So I feel like, you know, that's the easy part, right? We can all say, oh, this doesn't work. Let's talk about what could work, may work. And if it's not working, let's move on to a positive solution, you know? I think to your training point though, I think the biggest thing we really have to work on is we have to adapt to the trainee. If one style of training is not working, I mean, again, long gone are the days of, oh, you're not working for us. You know, like, nope, sorry, CTOs, I'm really sorry, but it is work and we have to adjust. And sometimes, you know, like your training style is not working. So that either means they have to go to another trainer or you have to make some adjustments. And if you want to be a good CTO, you're making adjustments.
And let's talk about the toxic trainer. We all know that trainer that we're not going to put the new person with Megan because Megan is going to eat them the heck up. They're going to make them cry on the first day. Why do we leave that person in our training programs?
That's a great point.
From a management standpoint, Megan, what do you think about that reality, or maybe speak to more like someone in management having to manage that CTO?
It is difficult, but I would say the first thing, if a training supervisor comes to me and says, "Okay, we're starting, Johnny's starting on Monday. I'm going to have them start with Susie because, if I give them to Sarah, if that even comes out of I always encourage venting up, but that's not venting. That's like, if that's how we're handling things, why Sarah a trainer? Because if we're rewarding that bad behavior, we're perpetuating it. So I definitely think there is a time you definitely have to step in. I also think the biggest thing is we come to a lot of assumptions about trainers and trainees for that matter. And then I start pulling out the DORs, those daily observation reports and stuff. And I'm all, this is glowing, like they're doing fine. But then the sidebar conversation is, and, he can't do this, she can't do this, and, this is that, and that never shows up in the DOR. And that's where the missed opportunity is. Because if this is truly a problem, you are not helping management sever that relationship, and it's just not working out. And then two, you're just making let's be honest, you're talking crap. You're like, it doesn't match. And I feel like that's where supervision management all day every day has to call that out and be like, you can't say that because that's not what you're writing, because that's going to encourage the trainer to either be true in their writing or be true in their words. Which is it going to be? It can't be both. And then that poor trainee is how I look at it, is you're kind of ruining the trainee's reputation before they're getting a chance to build it, because their reputation should be built on a good DOR, not on a, bad, what I mean? Like a side conversation.
Yeah. DORs, documentation, so important. So important for your trainee to understand where they're at, where they need to improve, and so important. Department, professional, we got to protect the city, right? You have to document well. And that is probably the toughest part, I think, about being a CTO, being a trainer, is you have to put facts in there, and you have to put accurate facts in there. Because too often you can't write your opinion or your feelings. You got to write the facts. And if you are not creating an accurate DOR, you're not setting that trainee up to know exactly where they need to improve, and you're not protecting the department if we have to let this trainee go.
And like you said, you just said it, you can't write feelings. I hate fluffy, and examples have to be put in there. You know what I mean? They did well on something. Here's an example. They didn't do on something. What's the example of that? Without that, think about it. That's like the poor trainees going like, I didn't do good about multitasking today. What did I not do good?
Megan seemed panicked. What does that mean?
Yeah.
What
seemed
what, you have to be factual with.
If I panicked, like Megan panicked and had an outburst in the center, like there's just got to be like facts. And let me be very clear, is shout out to the CTOs. It is, in my opinion, the most valuable and the hardest job in our center.
Toughest job in our center.
And so I feel like if you want to be a CTO, one, thank you for wanting to do it, and two, it's a lot of work, and thank you for taking that on. I just think we need to help prepare and train our CTOs to be successful, because when we have successful CTOs, we'll have successful trainees. And it's not easy, and it comes in time. Writing DORs as supervisors, managers, writing evaluations is not easy. And we often take the fluffy, easy route, as opposed to, let's keep it straight to the facts. I just really got to give a shout out to the CTOs, because it is not easy. And writing daily, those are daily observation reports
for 12-hour shifts. Oh, so much. It's so much.
And then there's quarterly, and then they get, like we can go down the rabbit hole. Yeah. But that's a whole nother episode talking about evaluations.
CTO burnout, a whole nother episode. Because of these staffing shortages, our CTOs are training all year long. One after another. And making sure your trainee doesn't like accidentally like kill someone because they put in the wrong address. Like that's a lot of stress,
Yes.
So it's already a tough job, and it's an even tougher job to teach someone else how to do this job. So yes, shout out to CTOs. You guys are not appreciated enough. You guys are really worked to the bone.
But the other side of that, I would say, back to the culture and retention, is if you're complaining, consider being a CTO and help out, because the thing is your CTOs are getting burnt. And if you're short staffed, having a lot and good CTOs is very important to have. So I would say do not hey, don't talk about it, be about it, and just step up. And, you're helping your team, you're helping keep people. It just, get involved. I just don't want anyone I'd hate to see people complain about things and then just not, come. The best thing is come with a solution. I get something's not working. What's your solution? Let's do this thing,
So I think what the ultimate point when we're talking about staffing shortages, retention, the need for more dispatchers in our center is the problem is going to be fixed by the folks who are already in that building. Burnout is already here. I was in a meeting and one of the dispatchers said this. We're not talking about preventing burnout. Burnout is already in your center. I can guarantee you, me, without stepping foot in your center, burnout's already there. What do we do about it? What small changes can we implement? What conversations can we have with our teams to get their feedback to make these changes a reality in our centers?
Well, I think that's another episode on wellness. But no, in summary, I think is you have to give. I'm going to go back to my words previously. The first and easiest is give everybody some grace. Like, I don't think if we're not giving our partners, our teams, our supervisors, our managers, our dispatchers, our CTOs, our trainees a little bit of grace, why are we adding on to that? You know what I mean? Why are we we're just piling it on them? So I think the easiest start is let's just have a little grace, give everybody, and again, you got to call it out in the room, because I don't think we can hold someone responsible for something if we have you told them that? You know what I mean?
No, I want you to talk to them.
Exactly, right?
But I don't want you to tell them that I said
But
that.
you can't say that I said it. And that creates a whole nother, level of things, I can't tell you how many times, when I actually have that conversation and you get to receive it, when they were like, you were kind of a bee today to me. Like, I didn't like the way you came at me. And I have to sit back and think about it. I'm like, thanks for telling me that, because I didn't think I was, but now that your feelings are valid and now I know where you're coming from. If we're not helping each other out in that center, come on, whether you want we all talk about it being our family, and we don't all get along. We know this. Not every every member of every family gets along. That's fine. We don't have to, but I mean, let's help each other out where we can a little bit.
Yeah, we signed up to do a tough job, but you do not need to hate going to work every single day. There is plenty that we can do to improve the realities in our center, and listening to these podcasts, having these conversations, sharing this podcast with the coworker and going, what do you think about this? What ideas are sparked, right? These are conversation starters. That's all. You don't even need to share this podcast with someone. You can go, hey, I listened to a podcast. You ain't got to plug what podcast it is and say, and this kind of sparked this idea for me. That is what we're hoping to do.
Yes.
With First Call Ready as an organization, First Call Ready as a podcast. Plant little seeds, spark conversations, have conversations that matter in 2026 to really create that change in our center.
I think that's great. Definitely. Hey guys, we're in 2026. Let's change the trajectory of this industry and this career, right? We want people to stay in this career. It's not a job. They're only visiting on a job. We want to keep it as a career. So,
well, we're at the end of our 6-hour first episode here at First Call Ready. So glad. I mean, time flies when you're having fun. So
you can throw this in AI for the summary if you need it. But since we're wrapping up, what we like to kind of introduce is our wrap-up riff, which is we kind of just want to end on an up positive note. I mean, we're pretty positive people, or try to be. So this is our attempt at it. So today, our little wrap-up riff is going to be we'll start to those maybe exploring 911 or just starting in it, is we wanted to tell you or ask the question, I'm going to ask Ashley, is what would you want everyone to know from all the 911 shows, movies, you name it? What is the one thing that you want people to know? Like, that's not true. That's not how it works.
I think the most important question that I tell like my everyday human when, I'm at the bar and they're like, "You're a dispatcher," is that our questions do not slow down any part of our process. And the questions represent my partnership with my caller. I need you to help me help you. And I know that can be frustrating when you're in some stuff, when you're in this worst day of your life situation. Questions can feel really anti-help, but I promise you, I have it narrowed down in a structure where we're going to get through them as quickly as possible and get you the help there as quickly as we can. But I really need you to partner with me, even in this life-changing emergency you are going through. And the questions help us get through that partnership as quickly as possible.
That's a great point, which I also feel is another podcast episode on, let's educate people. But that's a great one. I love that. I'm going to go with, besides the fact that crimes are not solved within an hour or hour and a half if you're watching a movie, like that's not quite usually how it works.
Yeah, Halle Berry.
It does happen sometimes. But,
yeah, Halle Berry. I'm talking to you.
Yeah, we don't leave the call center and chase the murderer. But I would say for me, it's just know that everything's not at our fingertips instantaneously. So there's not just one system that checks all the systems in one foul swoop. We're getting there. There's some bridging in that software thing, but like there's multiple. So, when you think you're like, this is the person that did it and we run it, it's like we don't have beacon trackers on them and go, oh, they're at Target right now in the milk section. Yeah. That's not how it works. We're not, when technology gets that advanced and we're swiping in the air and looking at, everybody's
real Iron Man
data.
Iron Man. That's who it is, right?
Yeah. Or CSI. I feel like where they're sweating. Yeah. It don't quite work that way. So I would just say, it doesn't mean we're not proficient. It just means it just doesn't work in that manner. Yeah. Who knows? By the time I retire, it probably will be.
If I start dispatching like Iron Man, I'm out of here. I'm not.
Our days are done.
I have met the goal. We're technology sound, and I'm out.
I would just say that back to your point, kind of like that patience thing. It's not like poop. Oh, yep, I found them. Here's their car.
Cannot
They're
teleport.
Right here.
We cannot teleport.
We cannot teleport. That's a great thing. But yes, yes. Well, it's been a pleasure.
It has.
Thanks for joining us for our first episode.
Yes.
More to come.
Make sure if you have not hit that subscribe button to do that. Like, share, tell a friend, all that good stuff. Any references to articles will be in the show description. And we will see you next time. Stay raspy.
Stay ready.